request on student tuition bills in a certain manner.
Asking for a comment in a minute, Andrew. Just going to start with these. So I'm in no order except the way they are on the file. All right. So Janine Bauer, I have in favor. It doesn't say whether you need to testify or not. Janine Bauer is an attorney with the Rutgers alumni. Janine, that's you, right? Say hi. Okay. All right. And Doug O'Malley. Yes, Doug. You good here? Okay. I stopped you. Okay. By the way, next group up, I'll just ask now, just so that we can flow properly, if that's okay. Is it Wynn Cohane?
Cool.
Thank you, Wynn. Wynn, you're going to speak next, along with Oriana Holmes-Price. Is Oriana here?
She had to step out.
Is she gone? She's gone, that's fine. I just want to prep the next two folks, because we do have a number of speakers. April Nicholas, is April here? April, that's you? So you guys are up next, how about that? All right, so with that said, Janine, please, why don't you go ahead and give us your... Oh, I apologize, Janine, but let Senator Zwicker make his comments first, and if you want Doug to go, that's fine by me. All right?
Just to say, Chairman, thank you for posting this bill. There have been certainly lots of questions about what this bill does and what it does not do.
Okay.
This bill's been around in various forms for quite some time, and I just appreciate everyone who's come out to testify so that we can get everything in front of you and then decide what we're doing moving forward.
Appreciate that. Doug, I think you've been given the leadoff slot.
I'll take it. All
right.
Just like Francisco Lindor, right? So hopefully I'll hit a home run here. So
Go Yankees.
yeah, well, yes, the Yankees fans. Yeah.
Or Singer Moriarty.
Always dangerous to talk about baseball at the same time. So I do want to say I'm really honored to get a chance to testify on this issue. I'm really thankful to you, Chairman Ryan, and to the leadership that Senator Zwicker has shown. And also just to provide an opportunity of education for Senator Moriarty and Senator Singer, perhaps knows about this bill along with anyone here in the State House. I wanted to start off by saying, I served officially as the director from Ryan, New Jersey. I've been in that role since 2012. But I got my start working in advocacy in New Jersey as a clean water associate with the Jersey Public Interest Research Group, doing very similar advocacy here in Trenton. I was not directly involved with the New Jersey Public Interest Research Group on campus at Rutgers. And really this bill is about engaging more civic dialogue and civic engagement through Rutgers students directly affiliated with New Jersey Public Interest Research Group. And for those of you that aren't familiar with the organization, it has been in place for more than 50 years. It actually initiated here in the legislature. We then assembled them, before he was speaker, then assembled them on Kane Senior. And this was in 1972. The organization was created in 1972 on campus. And it was designed in an era where there was a lot of call for change, but the design of the organization was to create change at the local level on campus and then ultimately at the state level. To be able to come up with research, as it's in the name, to be able to, and to organize on issues that are gut level issues for students, right? So, and I'll get to it a little bit in a moment on how the organization kind of works on campus. But the whole idea was to work on issues that would be essentially, we often talk about kitchen table issues, these are kind of dorm room issues. So whether it be affordability of higher education, whether it be the affordability, these are more issues currently now, affordability of textbooks, whether it be the ability to vote on campus, whether it be the ability to have energy efficient homes and dorms, whether it be clean water. All these issues engage students in the 70s and 80s and certainly today. And the reason why you're here listening to this bill right now is because 30 years ago there was an effort, a successful effort in the legislature to restrict the ability of students affiliated with New Jersey Public Interest Group to lobby at the state level. And I want to talk a little bit about what that means. We'll hear from students that, and the irony here is we will not hear from any students at Rutgers affiliated with the organization because that is restricted. They're not able to call, they're not able to show up for a lobby day, they're not able to be present on the statewide statewide scene. They can go to Washington, and when they do, they learn a lot. But Washington is not that close to Rutgers, whether they're in Camden or New York. And what really this bill is designed to do is make it easier for students to do exactly what we are doing right now. I also just want to talk a little bit, and you have this in front of you, hopefully in the packet, of just how NJPIRG is funded on campus. It's funded through students, and every 3 years, students vote on whether to have a waivable fee on their term bill. And so the printout that hopefully all of you have essentially is an electronic version of that waivable fee. Students can read it, and they can decide whether to provide a semester fee of $13.01. They can decide whether to pay that fee or not to pay that fee. 65% of students most recently pay that fee, 35% don't. And the whole concept of obviously of the organization is that students are able to assess the fee to be able to have the organization be effective on these issues. And again, it's not just a vote, it has to be a vote of a certain percentage of students on campus. So literally thousands of students every 3 years vote on whether to have NJPIRG students be on the terminal and have waivable fee. And even at that point, students can say, I like the work, I don't like the work, I'm going to pay the fee, I'm not going to pay the fee. And so that's the work that the organization does on campus. But as I said before, there's no other organization in the country that has a waivable fee that is not allowed to lobby at the state level. So that's the other kind of key thing to know. So whether you're in Florida, we actually have an organizer that has met with someone from Carter. She was able to lobby her legislators in Florida, but she was not able to do that in New Jersey. And so we want to take away, that anomaly, and that's really what, why I'm so thankful for Senator Zwicker and his leadership on this issue. For Senator Zwicker, we've obviously focused on kind of small D democracy, finding more ways for young people and all people to get engaged in the democratic process. That is the intent of this legislation. I want to wrap up my testimony because there's a multitude of other people to hear. Just as saying there's a broad degree of support across, not just here in this room, but from more than 30 organizations across the state, including representatives from AAUP who could not be here today, as well as a trustee for the university, in addition to alums from the Daily Target. And I'll just conclude my testimony by saying that, when I was in college, I cared a lot about politics. I cared about engagement, but I didn't have an opportunity to do anything. Just reading the news felt like that was enough. That generally isn't enough if you care about an issue. And so our hope is that more students at Rutgers will have the opportunity to actually be engaged in the state legislative process. That's the intent of this bill. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman? Yeah, I just have two comments. Number one is that it's a little disingenuous, I believe, of having to opt out. You should have to opt in if you want. And that's, I think, not a really small D way to do things. Second of all, I resent your comments about Whitman and your statements. I was there. You weren't. I sat in the rooms when it was discussed. And you're wrong. Not 10% wrong, 100% wrong. But if you want to play that game, you can play the game. But I was there. You were not. So to say that this was done to stifle at the time, I never heard that conversation ever. So maybe you know something I don't. And I have to tell you that, again, it was different times when Tom Kane Sr. was involved. I served under Tom Kane Sr. I've had lunch with Tom Kane Sr. just last year. So I think if we want to have that discussion, let's have it honestly. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. I'm happy to talk more about that. Obviously, you were there. I was not.
Thank you. Janine?
I just want to say one thing. I probably don't agree often with Senator Singer, but as a consumer advocate for about 40 years, I agree that opt-outs are not the best way to go. Opting in should be the way to go. Opt-outs are used often where the box is already checked and you have to uncheck it or something. I don't think that's consumer friendly. As for the gag rule, I don't have a problem with people, speaking their mind, but in terms of opt-in, opt-out, I don't think that's the appropriate way or the pro-consumer way to go. Just a statement, don't need an answer, but if you wish to, fine.
response to Senator is obviously whether it's a positive checkup or a negative checkup. Usually the concern is that that's kind of hidden, and then in this issue, every 3 years students have the opportunity to vote on whether the NJPIRG fee is on return belt. So that's the, I think, main distinction. But I understand where you're coming from, and that's a point that obviously other people have made through the years.
Yes, I mean, this happens all the time. The boxes are already checked, you're quick, you're going through stuff, and then you don't check it, you get charged. Maybe you didn't care, or maybe you didn't mean to do it. So, but I don't think that that's consumer friendly. I think it's a way to net a lot of people that probably wouldn't be captured if they actually knew what they were doing. And by the way, what's the 1 penny?
That's a 1301, good question. In terms of looking at the rate that was based on raising it, I believe 1% more, it was designed to not meet inflation, and the last time the fee had been raised was, I believe, in 2013.
Yeah.
So when it was raised in 2021, obviously there was excuse me, 2022, there had been a lot of inflation, but we knew obviously the students, every penny matters and every dollar matters, so it was just a percentage.
1301. Yeah, if you've never worked in retail, it would have been $12.99.
Says the consumer advocate.
That's true. And just one last point, Senator, just on the percentage of students, it varies over time. So sometimes it's 55% of students that pay the fee and 45% that don't. So, obviously your point remains, but students have the opportunity to opt out, and a good chunk of them do.
I won't belabor this, but I can guess that if this was an opt-in, the numbers would be dramatically different.
Fair point, and something we'll do when we consider legislation. Yeah, I do. Many students participate. Is it a very, very high percentage that actually votes every 3 years?
Yeah, so that's the
Did you say
process.
65, or did I miss that?
Yeah, the 65% of students.
Okay, sorry. Please, go ahead, Judy.
Thank you very much. My name is Janine Bauer. I'm an attorney in private practice for 41 years now. I was there, not when PIRG started in the 1970s, but shortly thereafter, and I was privileged while I was at Rutgers Law School to actually attend the trial in Camden in federal court of the Golda v. Blaustein student fee litigation based on what were the only two precedents at the time, one of which was a union fee case and the other was in a different context. And I followed that and been a part of my practice, which most of the day involves cleanup of toxic waste sites as an environmental lawyer, but I've been involved in First Amendment and right to associate and right not to associate matters for all of these 41 years since I was very privileged to see that trial and how Judge Carmen handled it, as well as the Third Circuit. And in fact, I wrote my law review article on the Third Circuit opinion appeal of Judge Rotman's decision in the student fee case. So while I didn't realize I was going to address that, and I'm not sure what the interplay is between the preference by a couple of senators for an opt-in fee versus the mechanism that's currently in place. The fact is that an opt-in fee, I do not believe would pass muster under the current Supreme Court precedent, which is Board of Regents versus Southwind, because it would not be viewpoint neutral. And by viewpoint neutral, and there are several cases on this now, but Board of Regents, that was the Wisconsin PIRG fee, as well as the rest of the student fees that were mandatory at the University of Wisconsin. So the same situation, obviously, the state university system. That's 529 U.S. 217 from 2000, and there's been plenty of precedent that's interpreted that now, and that actually did go to trial on remand as well. It's not the student groups that have to be quote unquote viewpoint neutral from a political perspective. In other words, they don't have to just bring food to a shelter or something like that that has no political, or arguably no political content. It's the process that has to be viewpoint neutral, and I'm quite sure I'm confident that singling out the PIRG fee, which I think is actually the most democratic fee, although I certainly take your points and understand them, would not pass muster under the viewpoint neutrality forum that's created by the otherwise mandatory fee, which continues to be allowed, and the whole purpose of it is because the university is considered to need to embrace as part of its educational mission all kinds of points of view, and that's what it does. So New Jersey PIRG has taken the extra step, and Rutgers has taken the extra step of not only requiring the referendum, but also not having a refundable fee, which is what was challenged in 1981, but having a completely waivable fee. Now, of course, you don't have to, take my advice, but that would be my.
No, at all.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. So, and the only other thing I want to say is there are 3 branches, and it really is a tremendous disservice to students. I think that's the point I'm going to make, to allow them to do something like I did as a Rutgers PIRG fee-paying student at law school to be able to go over to the courthouse. And we're very lucky in New Jersey because to come to Trenton is possible for everybody, no matter what campus you're at and what college you're at. To not hear from our students, I don't think we should be doing that. I think it's unlawful, but I guess nobody's challenged it over these 30 years for whatever reason. But I just think that it's sort of a moral imperative to hear from these young people. These young people are going to be taking over, certainly for me and for all of us, and I welcome them to the forum, this forum, as well as that forum at the university, our judiciary and everything else. I'm sure you all know, at least those of you who are lawyers, that students are allowed to practice in our courts. They have to be supervised. Why would we not let a student come down and sit at the microphone and tell you what's going on, that might relate to a bill that's in front of you? So that's really my pitch.
I agree with that one.
Thank you. And
Very
thank you
helpful.
for considering it.
Sure.
I just wanted to follow up to what you just said and to Senator Moriarty's point. So just so that it's really clear. If I understood what Senator Moriarty was saying, he was saying the default should be that you're opted out and you can actively opt in, as opposed to right now the other way around. But you're saying that it's your belief based on court precedent that in particular changing the default would be deemed unconstitutional.
That's what I think.
That's your,
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because it's not a content neutral process.
How is being how is already being opted in content neutral?
That's why we have courts.
Yeah. So there's a third way.
Is there-
There's a third way. Here's this. So if you're online and you're going through something and you have to fill in your name and address and certain information to check out, let's say. If you go to the bottom and you go to check out and you miss something, you didn't answer something, or you left out something critical, it won't let you check out. You end up having to go back up and you realize, oh, I forgot to put in my zip code or whatever. There is a possibility that technically you could just make it so that when you get to this, you have to check, yes, I want to pay this, or no, I don't want to pay it. Now that's certainly neutral. Won't let you check out until you go back and make a selection.
The defect in that process is that none of the other student groups that are asking for access to the student fee forum, okay, that's what it is, it's a student fee
Right.
forum for speech or whatever they're doing services, don't do that.
Well, I'm advocating that they all should.
They all should,
They
absolutely.
all should. I'm not just trying to pick out PIRG, I'm saying they all should be that you get to actively pick. That you shouldn't already be checked that you're willing to pay it, and then you have to opt out, or that you have to pay it. You should be able to have some say in that. That's all I'm saying. I don't want to belabor the
Well,
point.
I think it's safe to say it's going to create some discussion for senators
Yeah.
looking at reform.
Yes.
Okay. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
both very much.
Appreciate
But
it.
I agree, people should be able to come and speak their mind. No one should be gay.
Thank you, sir.
Well, when in April are coming up, I'm going to go ahead and read off a number of folks that have left the slips that are, and then we can just go through the last couple. Evelyn Corby from Volton Solar is in favor, no need to testify. And Daniel Jankowski is here from Action Together, NJ Action Fund, in favor, no need to testify. Mariah Kinberg, I hope I say it correct, she's with New Jersey Working Families, in favor, no need to testify. Jeannie Fox from Rutgers University Trustees, in favor, no need to testify. Bill Harlow, former editor, Daily Target, Rutgers alum. Everybody knows Bill. In favor, no need to testify. Amy Goldsmith, and Amy is with Clean Water Action, she's in favor, no need to testify. Alex Ambrose of New Jersey Policy Perspective, in favor, no need to testify. Kathy Monteleone, I believe is how I say it correctly, AAUP BHSNJ, she's the president, in favor, no need to testify. Brian, I hope I say it correct, Sachs, it's either S-A-T-K-S or S-A-E, S-A-C. Sachs, I'll say right, there's adjunct. Facility Union, in favor, no need to testify. Todd Wolfson is AAUP, AFT, in favor, no need to testify. And I have two folks, after these two folks speak, who I'm not quite certain. Liz Glynn? Liz, you going to speak?
Yep.
Okay, and Charlie? Charlie, you speak?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so those will be our last two speakers. So that said, Wynn, why don't you go ahead and go first, and April, why don't you go second?
Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Chairman, esteemed senators of this committee. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm not affiliated with Rutgers. I am also not a lawyer. So I'm here as an advocate for these wonderful students. And I brought my old school poster board that I made. So first of all, I'd like to really thank Senator Zwicker and Petra, who was also his chief of staff when he was then Assemblyman. We've been working on this bill for 5 years. And it all started when my work as Executive Director of Action Together New Jersey, I travel across the state to talk about voter education, talk specifically vote by mail before we had the pandemic and everyone voted by mail en masse. I was a featured speaker when we had Zoom in 2020 with NJPIRG. And at the end of the voter education session, I said, you guys, we really could use your voices on a new bill that Senator Zwicker's been working on, the new Voter Empowerment Act that allows 17-year-olds to vote in the primary should they turn 18 on or before the November election. So how about it? Who can join us? And they said, well, we really can't because we're gagged. I'm like, what does that mean? They said, well, we can't testify in Trenton because of this rule called the gag rule, and if we do, we lose our funding. I said, that doesn't sound right. I said, but, I'm happy to help raise funds for y'all because you should be able to voice your opinions because what you're telling me only happens in Vietnam, in my home country, not in America. What are you talking about? Maybe you're not clear. What is it, 15,000, 20,000? I'm happy to do a fundraiser. Now, mind you, the most I've ever fundraised was 13,000. There's a stretch, but I'm like, these kids deserve it. And I come to find out from National PIRG that was $500 million a year. So before this gag rule, we had NJPIRG students here in Trenton testifying in support or against certain bills. After the gag rule, that stopped. So it was egregious to me in hearing this as somebody, I'm like, well, why haven't you guys tried to turn this, by this time it was a quarter of a century. They said, well, it's a classic catch-22. If we advocate, we lose the funding. And so that's an effective way of shutting us up. We can, but we're not going to get that funding. I said, well, aren't there, and my nonprofit is tiny, I'm the only paid staff member, and I said, well, aren't there like big legacy organizations that can help y'all do this and help turn it? And they said, well, we can't hire them, and so unless some big donor or trustee or foundations pay for it, we can't advocate for it. So it's gone for now 29 years without students. And I want to thank
every one of you for being in this committee, because as a mom of 3, one just graduated college, 2 more in college. I know how expensive it is. I'm watching my budget. They eat so much. My grocery bills are high. I get the $13 and a penny. That is a lot, y'all. And then my electricity bills. I don't have air conditioning. I'm trying to get a heat pump. I know what it is to have young people who eat a lot, who cost a lot, etc. So I want to thank you all when you guys are making these decisions about how we fix these buildings, how do we help the students in New Jersey. I have a kid at the College of New Jersey. So I want to, first of all, thank you so much for all your work. Secondly, I believe in these students. I really, really do. Trenton is amazing that our students could, once again, if we do a gag rule repeal and we work through the intricacies of waivable, optional, whatever, that they can come here, they can study the bills, and they can speak to their experience, what they're for or against, and get a real life experience. And in supporting this bill for 5 years now, it's been 5 years, Senator, I have learned that NJPIRG is a hotbed of amazing, amazing people. For example, Assemblywoman Alexis Colossus-Beal, who could not be here, she is an alumni at NJPIRG. She actually was the last class before the gag rule was instituted. We have chiefs of staff, like for example, the latest one is the chief of staff of Senator Goldstein, Matthew Brodsky, NJPIRG alum. We have so many people here, among staffers and legislators who have experience. So I really like the institution. Again, I'm not affiliated, I'm not a lawyer, but I really believe in the program and what they do, and they're for public interest research group. And if you see here what they do, they're advocating for lower cost of votes. They have registered tens of thousands of new voters in the 29 years. They do great work, and I want to do everything I can, and all the hours that Doug and everyone else who's going to testify, none of it is funded. We're all volunteers because we believe in these kids. And again, I want to tell you, before the gag rule, they were here. They spoke their minds. They studied the program, the different legislation. They organized, they came after the gag rule. You haven't seen them. And I'd like for us to go back where we see these young people. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. April?
I just want to say one thing if I could. First of all, thank you very much. Your passion is wonderful. Thank you for bringing an old school poster. I love it. And I'd be happy to donate $13.01 to your air conditioning fund.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I'm
See me
going
after.
to take you up on that. Venmo, Zelle.
All right. April, why don't you go ahead?
All right, thank you. My name is April Nicholas. I'm a Rutgers alumni, resident of New Brunswick, and my main interest in this bill is as the former state chairperson for the New Jersey Public Interest Research Group student chapters, which, as Doug O'Malley mentioned earlier, has been around at Rutgers since 1972. It's student-run, it's student-funded, has a defined mission of working on a set of public interest issues, including environmental protection, consumer protection, higher education affordability, hunger and homelessness, voting and democracy, youth engagement, and public health. So there's a defined set of issues that the organization works on and provides training and support to students across the university system to run effective strategic campaigns around the policies that they support on those issues. And I was lucky enough to be one of the students that came up through this program and learned a lot of both life skills and professional skills from my work there. I was a student leader with NJPIRG from 2015 to 2019. I worked on campaigns to promote the adoption of clean energy, like rooftop solar, reducing single-use plastics on campus, creating an affordable textbooks program at Rutgers that has saved students over $6 million collectively. And above all, nonpartisan voter registration as part of the Voters Project campaign, where I worked closely with Rutgers administration and faculty to make voting and civic engagement a core part of our campus culture. I know there's been a lot of discussion already on the funding mechanism and how the fee works and what it looks like on the term bill. I'm certainly happy to answer any questions on that, because I've been a student, I've had the fee on my term bill, I know exactly what it looks like and, you know, how I can click one button to make it go away. I also know that tens of thousands of students vote in order for that fee to be in place in the first place, and I also know that it's an arduous, year-plus long process to jump through all the hoops with the administration to be allowed to run the referendum, to have the strict oversight from all of these student governments across the campuses on every single decision, you know, down to can the polling place be here or is it 5 feet to the left? You know, very strict rules. And I've had conversations with many, many hundreds of my peers about this who have to vote in favor of the fee in order for it to exist on the term bill in the first place. So I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has about the funding system for the organization. But I will note that the bill that's in front of the committee for discussion is actually quite simple. It's just a matter of repealing a law that restricted the ability of students with this organization to be here and exercise their free speech rights in the state capitol and speak with their legislators about issues that are important to them. When I was a student leader with NJPIRG, I was able to do a lot of great work. I was able to advocate for that affordable textbooks program on campus to save my classmates and myself millions of dollars collectively over the years. I was able to go to DC and meet with federal representatives to urge continued funding and support for the Pell Grant to make higher education more accessible for low and moderate income families. But I was not allowed to meet with my own state legislators as a representative of NJPIRG students and ask them to support higher education affordability. I was not allowed to testify at hearings and tell the legislature that our organization supports environmental legislation. I was not allowed to make a phone call or send an email to legislators telling them that as the chairperson of NJPIRG students, I care about a bill that they're going to vote on. So this is purely a matter of public participation and whether or not the students who work with this organization have the same rights that everyone else already has to come and speak with you all and voice their opinions the same as everyone else. It's just about having the same rights, no more, no less. I'm very glad to be able to be here and speak with you today as an alumni of the organization because I have the current position with the organization. I'm no longer restricted in my speech in that way, and I'm just asking you to give the current student leaders back their rights to do the same thing.
Very helpful. Thank you. Thank you both.
Just one, we're done. Just
Two more speakers.
thank you. Just very quickly, I would say you raised an interesting point that every 3 years the students vote on this. So as we talk after this hearing on the various legal issues, to Senator Moriarty's point, there is a built-in check every 3 years at least. So we'll work through the rest of it after this hearing. But thank you.
April Wynn, thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Liz Glynn, New Jersey Citizen Action, and Charlie Crowder. Charlie, you're with Food and Water Watch these days? That's great. Okay, come on up. Liz, you go first. Charlie, you back clean up.
All right. All right, thanks so much for holding this discussion here today. So my name is Liz Glynn, and I am currently the organizing director for the New Jersey Citizen Action. And I'm here in support of repealing the rule that restricts the voices of the students who are involved with the New Jersey Public Interest Research Group and NJPIRG chapters. But I served actually previously as the organizing director for the student chapters. I was also the program director for New Jersey PIRG's former AmeriCorps program called Community Water Watch. And I actually also was able to develop the organization's Energy Service Corps program. And I started as a campus organizer in 2005, and I worked with New Jersey PIRG until 2012. So I worked firsthand with the students, and I can confidently say that the students, like April, who you just heard from, they're impressive. They develop critical leadership skills. They learn how to communicate to their peers on campus and engage in meaningful conversations about real-world problems like hunger and homelessness, college affordability, climate change, the list goes on. They register their peers to vote, they organize organize fundraisers, they coordinate Earth Day stream cleanups, and more. These are young people who care deeply about problems, and they want to learn all the ways they can be addressing these problems, and they want to learn beyond direct service. They want to engage in conversations around public policy and how decisions are made. Obviously, the big problem everyone is just pointing out here is that there's a huge gap in their knowledge and their experience, and this current law prohibits them from having a greater, more enriching experience to really see how decisions are made here on the statewide level. This is limiting their democratic experience, and really I think this prohibition on their speech is undemocratic. The statewide board, just to kind of speak towards what their interests are, the statewide board of the student chapter leaders, they meet every year and they propose campaigns, they discuss issues every year, and they decide what they want their priorities to be. State environmental legislation or state funding of higher education would often be raised and discussed, but they had to be repeatedly told that they couldn't actually work on any campaigns related to that because that would involve going and actually talking to state legislators. This past summer, I also had the pleasure of once again working with a New Jersey PIRG student leader, Mujan Mohi from Rutgers University in Newark. She worked with Citizen Action as part of the Rutgers Summer Service Internship program that they have. And I'll say Mujan was equally passionate, just like April, very impressive and knowledgeable. And she was really eager to learn about advocacy and organizing. And she was especially excited because I was able to finally bring her here to the State House. And she participated in our annual advocacy day. She was able to learn firsthand about the state budget. She came in June during state budget season to understand what was going on in this process. She got to attend the committee hearing on medical debt and learn how a bill was debated and see actually a vote decided firsthand. And she was able to directly interact with the legislators. As you know, as we already stated, this is something that she was prohibited from doing with the New Jersey PIRG student chapters, and I feel strongly that all the students should be given the same opportunity to have this kind of engaging and enriching experience. And their voices are missing, and they should be heard on the state level. And I'll just say again, Mujan, she's undoubtedly a future leader, which meant tremendous potential. I could see her working for a state legislator, or in state government, or as a community advocate in the future. And she could be gaining about valuable experience learning about legislation and advocacy as she's continuing to work with the New Jersey PIRG student chapters. She'd be building on the experience she had this past summer if it were not for the current restrictions. I was just lastly to say I'm also a Rutgers alum. I graduated from Rutgers from the School of Communications with a degree in Journalism and Media Studies. I also studied environmental policy, institutions, and behavior. It was formerly known as Cook College. And I know firsthand that Rutgers prides itself on the experiential learning opportunities, the ability to offer students meaningful civic engagement opportunities, and the New Jersey PIRG student chapters fits that really critical, important part of their mission. So, thank you.
Thank you. I have no doubt you graduated from communications. Any questions? Thank you. Charlie, you want to give us something we don't know already?
I will abbreviate my remarks because so many people make great points, but I am Charlie Cradville. I am with Food and Water Watch speaking to you today on behalf of our 72,000 members and supporters around the state. I'm also a proud alumnus of Rutgers University, a resident in New Brunswick, and though I wasn't involved in the New Jersey PIRG students, I was a canvasser and campus director with New Jersey PIRG. I'll just start by thanking you, Mr. Chairman, for holding this. Thank you, Senator Zwicker, for proposing this. Freedom of speech is an important American value, but for the past 3 decades, a very specific set of Rutgers University students have been prevented from using their voices to advocate for their own interests or the interests of others right here in this building. The same students can advocate at the federal, county, local level, but because of that bad law passed in the early 90s, they can't advocate to you all at the state level. This makes no sense and there's no good reason for it. Adopting S 4272 would correct this injustice and right this wrong, and it's right up your alley as the Higher Education Committee. Not only is this an issue dealing with student groups, advocating here is an educational experience. And I often fondly think back to my first couple of times coming to this building and how much I learned coming to committee hearings and just watching and observing. And I think that it's very unfortunate that the current New Jersey PIRG students can't get that educational experience, and I hope that you'll act to ensure that they do. I will say, just as a resident in New Brunswick for over 20 years, there's perhaps no advocacy group that's been as consistent and effective at getting students involved as New Jersey PIRG. They deserve credit for persevering and continuing to advocate in ways that they are permitted to. They always take a nonpartisan approach, a public policy approach, and they probably register more voters than anyone else in New Brunswick because they care about empowerment and civic engagement. Now you have a chance to empower them by removing the gag rule that prohibits them from engaging in state-level advocacy. I urge you to please pass S 4272. Happy to take any questions.
Seems like a good way to close. Anybody have any other comments? Motion. Charlie, good way to close. Thank you. Thank you all for your comments. We are very grateful for them and your patience.
Thank you, Chairman. Appreciate it.
Is there a motion?
Motion.